This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Sunday, October 3rd, 2021. The title of this rant is Why the GOP Never Wants the U.S. To be like Europe and especially Germany. So a lot's going on right now, and it seems as if the GOP is throwing everything they possibly can against the wall to see what sticks. There used to be a term for that. And basically, that's keeping out a lot of critical thinking about a lot of things that Americans really, really need and Americans really, really want. And if we just look at even what conservatives approve of in Germany and in all of Europe, we'd be astounded that we should be having that same type of system here. Let me just give a few examples. Let's just say vacation time. I think in the U.S., in some places you get 2 weeks vacation, it's paid vacation, and maybe if you're there for 5 years, you get 1 week more, and then after 15 years, you get 4 weeks vacation. In Germany, you start out with 5 weeks vacation, which is the same for France and England and Italy and most of the other countries. It's there. They encourage people to have a vacation. In Germany, the government requires government employees to take their vacation, if nothing more than to set an example for everyone else. In the U.S., it's like, hey man, if you take any time off, it's frowned upon. You know, you got to keep working. You got to keep your head in there. Conservatives never want us to have a system like that. In place, again, where's the critical thinking? Hey, you know, if I have more time off, maybe I'll have a garden. Maybe I'll get a little bit more involved in social issues, that type of thing. They don't want that. Let's take another example, healthcare. In Germany, no one goes uninsured. If you're too poor, then you get insurance through the government. If you don't have a whole lot of money, everything would be based on a sliding scale. Everyone in Germany is insured, and no one in Germany goes bankrupt or loses their home or dies because they don't decide that they can't pay for their insulin shots. That doesn't happen in Germany. But in the U.S., hey, the Republicans don't care about that. They want to have nothing to do with universal health insurance, single payer, or even Obamacare, which was basically a handout to the insurance companies so that more people could get insured. Let's take a look at another one in unions. In Germany, 97% of the firms that have over 1,000 employees are either union or they have work councils. And what work councils means is that the average worker is represented, in the board of directors or in management in terms of their needs. And the biggest example with all of that with unions is that if you're in one of those firms like that, you automatically get a pay raise, based on merit. And in the United States, you have to fight individually for every single one. And people have a very hard time fighting individually. And then if they get shot down, they don't know what to do, because if they try any harder, they might get fired. And in the U.S. right now, about 5% of the entire workforce is union, and we need good paying union jobs here in the United States. And I also want to point out another thing. There is a industry in the United States solely dedicated to union busting, using and taking legal means to their extremes, and then even going into illegal means, a la Amazon in that place in Alabama earlier this year. So again, if that was happening in Europe, that would never happen in Europe, because that is representative of what the government wants and what the people want. Let me give you the last, and I could go on and on. I could go on about sick leave. I could go on even more in depth into healthcare, especially also in education, and keep on going. But when we think about what's going on with this reconciliation, this is kind of where we want to be heading as we go into the future. Especially when it talks about green jobs, especially when it talks about healthcare, especially when it talks about education, elder care, child care, et cetera, et cetera. And in essence, the Democrats are trying to be more and more like Europe, and these things are all favored by the vast majority of Americans, between 60 and 75%, each one of them individually. And there's only one party that's against this, and that is the U.S. Republican Party. Because if any of those conservatives in any of those countries over there tried to get rid of their health insurance program, tried to get rid of all that paid vacation, etc., they would all be voted out of office. And this is what we have to do with Republicans here. We have to vote every single one of them out of office.